You heard that Johnson Aseedun Ketia speaking at the press conference. He's been drawing attention to some concerns that the NDC as a party has had over the past few weeks about the voter registration exercise, particularly in the Bono region. Their main concern has been the lack of action by the police in apprehending perpetrators of the violence in the Banda area. Of course, as you know, one person has died there during the registration exercise. The NDC General Secretary also makes some damning allegations against the Bono region's minister, claiming that he was plotting to rig the election there. He proceeded to show text messages and videos of the claims that they make. Of course, JoyNews cannot at the moment independently verify these. So for now, we dissociate ourselves from these allegations, but we will be verifying these claims. So hello, you're welcome, and thank you so much for joining us from wherever you are. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. Our top stories this hour. We'll take you down memory lane on the controversial Agyapa Minerals royalties deal as JoyNews checks show some claims made by the minority are untrue. We'll tell you which one and why. Election campaigns in full swing as former president and NDC flag bearer hits the northern region, where Vice President Dr. Bawumia is also touring, whilst the NDC running mate takes on the western north region. We'll bring you updates as promises flow, including NDC's pledge to stop the Agyapa deal should they win power, and the NPP's call for another term, citing restoration of peace in Dagbon. And ever thought of COVID-19 as a burn survivor? We hear from such survivors who are also prone to COVID infections, cannot wear face masks due to deformities, and have lost their livelihoods to COVID-19. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. Remember, we're streaming live on YouTube. We're also streaming live on Facebook. Join us with your thoughts, opinions, questions, if I have the answers, on 05401-09009. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. You're welcome to the show. Let's start off on the campaign trail as Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, flag bearer of the NDC John Dramani Mahama, and his running mates Jane Nana Pokuajima and Professor tour different parts of the country to galvanize votes. Let's begin from the northern region, where the Vice President is calling on northerners to reciprocate the gesture of peace, as he puts it, that the president has restored in Dagbon by voting massively for the NPP. He said the people of Dagbon and northerners in general are indebted to the president for that act, for the role of the president in restoring peace in Dagbon. The vice president said this when he paid a courtesy call on the Yana to officially announce his campaign of the region. Dr. Bawumia said the NPP promised development, including the free senior high school, which they have delivered upon. He also says Ghanaians cannot trust the former president John Dramani Mahama with a free senior high school. Therefore, the need for Ghanaians to vote the NPP.
Has essentially, the Dagbon people, the northern people, and Ghanaians as well, are indebted to Nana Akufo-Addo for bringing peace to Dagbon. And once you owe somebody a debt, you should pay it. And Nana Akufo-Addo, inshallah, the people of Dagbon will pay that debt on December 7th by voting massively for him and the NDP government. And so I thank you about the future and the need for us to embrace the future. We didn't think Nana John Mahama could be trusted with the free senior high school education. First of all, NDC said it wasn't possible. Then he said if he had 2 billion cedis, he would not spend it on free SHS. So we don't think we can trust him with free SHS. But once we have embraced free SHS, we also know that beyond free SHS, our people need to go to the university. And this is why we are bringing a new student loan scheme to be able to lend money to people who are going for university after free SHS. Once they have their national ID card, they don't need a guarantor. We will provide the loans. They will go, and after national service, they will have a 1-year moratorium before they start repaying the loans. But with the big influx of students into the universities, we are going to need more universities in Ghana. We have talked to UDS, and they are going to build a satellite campus of UDS in Yendi. We are also looking at expanding the veterinary, Tom Tamale Veterinary College into a university for agriculture, and therefore expand university placements in the northern part of Ghana as we look forward in the next few years. So there is a lot that is going on in what we want to do. And one thing that I want to specifically mention for Yendi is that at the National Security Council meeting yesterday, the President agreed that we are going to have an airstrip, a resurfacing of the Yendi airstrip.
Vice President Dr. Mahama Bawumia there in Dagbon, the Dagbon area, with the announcement of his campaign. Well, let's head to the northern region. Martina Bugri joins me on the line with more. Hello, Martina. It looks like I've lost Martina on the line. Martina will join us and tell us what more the Vice President has been doing, what more has he been saying. We'll also head to somewhere else where former President and the flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, is also touring. As we heard already, he's been asking people to vote for the NDC because he intends to stop the Agyapa royalties. He will get more on that as well. Rafiq Salam is following that story for us, and he will join me with more. Martina, are you there?
I am here.
Good. Martina, tell us, what more has the Vice President been saying?
The Vice President talked of the policies of government that are yielding results. He talked of the school feeding. He talked of the senior high school program. He also talked of the One Village, One Dam, and several other policies like the planting for food and jobs that he says are yielding results. And so it is time for the people of Ghana to entrust the MPP again with another 4 more years. Now, for the northern region, he says that they are going to establish a new university, and that will be the veterinary college in Pontamale will be turned to an agric university. He says that UDS campus will also be established at Yendi, and an airstrip would be developed in Yendi. So for the northern region, these are the 3 things he says that they will be done when they come back into power. He also talks of some of the development projects that they have done in Yendi. He talks about 40-something projects that they have done, and he says that 13 of those projects are projects that were started by the NDC government, and they have completed them. And so he says that if the NDC says that they are not accomplishing or finishing projects they started, that is not true. We also talked of projects that are ongoing in the area. Now he's in Miao. He's going to take a courtesy call on the Miao Lana, and then he will proceed to Sabdigu.
I see that the Vice President is also traveling with somebody. If I saw him, that looks like the Deputy Chief of Staff. Am I correct?
No, the Deputy Chief of Staff is not part of the trip.
Right.
We have ministers like Mr. Baifa Kabo, and we have the Energy Minister,
okay,
Dr. Amin Anta, and several other ministers. But the chief of,
yeah, I just saw in a video and I thought it was him, but that's okay. Martina, where is he at the moment?
Currently, he's in Miao, where he'll be addressing a gathering of participants and the Miao Lana. He's paying a courtesy call on the Miao Lana as well.
And the good thing is that Mion has just recently celebrated the Bugun Festival, which is a key milestone in the scheme of affairs. So it's a very good thing that happened there. But do we know what else he will be doing when he moves from there, and how long he's staying in the region?
He's touring tomorrow to some other chief palaces. I know he's going to Zabdu, where he pays a call on the chief of Zabdu. It's officially meeting chiefs to tell them he's in their jurisdiction to begin the campaign. And so he probably begin a day or two in the region.
Okay. Martina, thank you very much. I just quickly would like to find out, have you had the chance to speak to the people in this region to find out what their own expectations are, you know, vis-a-vis the promises they're getting? Does it necessarily align with the promises, with the expectations that they have as a people?
For the people in the region, their expectations are that roads would be constructed. The area has lots of deplorable roads, and so what they are expecting, any government that would make any promise, it should center on roads and employment.
Martina, thank you. We'll come back to you for more. Martina Bugre is our correspondent in the northern region, bringing us up to speed on what Vice President Dr. Mahama Bawumia is doing. The Vice President, by the way, has started his campaign in the northern region. Martina tells us he's calling on chiefs, letting them know he is in their region and making some promises, including constructing turning an existing facility there into an agric university, building them an airstrip, and telling them how they have developed, how they have delivered, I beg your pardon, on their promises made. Let's head to the Upper West region now. We'll get an update on NDC flag bearer John Mahama. He has been speaking about the One Village, One Dam policy, which he describes as a monumental waste of the country's taxpayers' money. Let's get to Rafiq Salam, our correspondent in the Upper West region. Rafiq. Well, I come to you, Rafiq. Let's listen to the former president on One Village, One Dam. And Rafiq, I'll come to you.
One Village, One Dam. Eventually, it turned out that we were talking about dugouts. And so they've not even done the dugouts properly. Because one, in the dry season, when we did an assessment of the One Village, One Dam, most of them were not able to hold water. By January, February, all of them were dry, and there was no water in them. Others too, when the rainy season came, and the rains came down, it broke the dam, and the water washed away. And so, when the minister was asked, he says, oh, but at least the dams we're talking about. He says, but what dams do you expect for 250,000 Ghana cedis? We didn't say how much you were going to spend. He said, One Village, One Dam. And she said, oh, to build a new dam, you need 3 million Ghana cedis. I said, but that's what you promised us. Because the dams we need are not the dams, the dugouts that you got for us. The dams we need are supposed to put our young people to work, so that they can use them for irrigation purposes, they can use them for dry season gardening, to provide and produce vegetables, okra, and so many other things for the market. That is what we need. And so when we talk about dams, we are talking about dams that will be productive and create jobs for our people.
The former president has also been assuring members of the Ghana Federation of the Disabled that he will be separating the Disability Fund from the District Common Fund. He said the present system where Disability Fund is lumped up with the District Assembly Common Fund is not the best because persons who are differently abled struggle to access the fund.
The presence of party faithful, the overlord of the Wala Kingdom and its subjects, one key organization whose presence at the gathering was much felt by all and sundry at the One House Palace were members of the Ghana Federation of the Disabled. There had been at the palace to listen to Mr. Mahama on plans he had for them should he be given the nod in 2020. For some, the long speech of Sol Palace to listen to Mr. Mahama on plans he had for them should he be given the nod in 2020. For some, the long speech of stalled developmental projects touted by the former president was boring, and they started to wonder whether he had something in stock for them. Immediately he mentioned the common fund and its disbursement. Majority of them cranked and their facial countenance changed. He then rolled out his plan, which will separate the disability fund from the district assembly common fund.
The district chief executives and metropolitan chief executives do not prioritize the disbursement of the disability fund. We are going to create a fund which will be separate from the district assembly's common fund. When the district assembly's common fund comes, the share of the disabled will be paid into a special account. And they will have a board of trustees formed by the disabled persons themselves, who will be responsible for disbursing that fund. Part of the fund, 50% of it, will go as monthly stipends to disabled persons. And the other 50% of the fund will be invested in projects and programs that will benefit the disabled people.
The former president later held separate meetings with the Upper West Regional Chief Imam and the Yarna and their subjects. Their main concern was Islamic education.
If you are privileged to assume the reins of governance within this country, the Yarna and his elders are requesting that you put in place structures to address the structural deficits that is currently confronting Islamic education.
Mr. Mahama has this response.
The teaching and learning of Arabic is the fact that we don't have enough Arabic school teachers. And so we decided to create a College of Education, an Islamic College of Education, that will accelerate the training of Arabic teachers. And as I said, that's the Al Farouk College of Education in Winchi. It is dedicated to training Arabic teachers. And so what we'll do is, as they train the Arabic teachers, we'll absorb them into the Ghana Education Service and post them to the schools where our children are desirous of writing exams in Arabic, so that they can give them the instruction and make them able to achieve their desire.
However, one key thing that characterized the first day campaign tour of the former president in the one municipality is his use of the tricycle. Depending on which side of the political divide one belongs, it is either called Mama Kambu or Mama Kandu. Whatever it is, Mr. Mahama is the one making the most of it. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Mr. Mahama is still there. Rafiq will join us with more. Now let's stay a while longer on the NDC, but this time on Mr. Mahama's running mate, Professor Jainana Opoku-Agyeman. She kick-started her 3-day tour in the Western North region to introduce herself to the people and seek their mandate for the forthcoming elections. She visited the Bibiani and Miaso Bekwai constituency, where she bemoaned the violence that characterized last month's voter registration exercise.
The voters' register has been compiled several times in Ghana's history. Unfortunately, the recent one took a turn for the violent. This will not help any of us as citizens. What matters most, especially to me, is that we all uphold the peace.
Jainana Opoku-Agyeman there. Now, Natalia Kwanza is on phone with me for more on the tour. Hello, Ina. We do know that the Western North region seemed to, over the years, have voted more NDC. How was she received?
Yes, Kitty, it has been a massive crowd throughout the places she has visited. Today she's visiting Bia West, and it has been massive. You have people coming there carrying stones, which literally means that the NDC should come for their stones. What they are trying to also say, according to them, is that the NPP government have failed the people of the Western North region.
What has she been telling them? Is she collecting the stone?
Yes, so she has been telling them, some chiefs in the Western North region did tell her that the NPP government have stopped some developmental projects started by the NDC era. And so she says that when they are given the mandate again, the NDC government is going to make sure that those projects are completed. And even those that the NPP government started, they will make sure that they would complete it. Just also assure the people that the NDC government will do everything in its power to ensure there is a peaceful election come December 7th.
What is she doing now? Is she still touring and still engaging?
Yes, she's still engaging with the people of VIE.
Yes, Ina, go ahead.
She's meeting traditional leaders. She's meeting party faithfuls, and she's also meeting the people, telling them what they can do in terms of infrastructure. She says the Mahama, former President Mahama, is bent on bringing development to the Western North region, and she's pleading the Androgens that they should give them their vote again, and they would never fail the Western North region. It's a region they hold dear to their heart as a party.
And well, Ina, I'll leave you to that. We'll certainly come back to you. Ina Thalia Kwanza there, she's following the NDC's running mate, Professor Jainana Opoku Agyapa, who is in the Western North region. Today on Voters' Voice, we take you to the Bono East region, where traders at the Techiman Central Market share thoughts on what policies will inform their decision in the December 2020 polls.
No vote because I don't see anything good in it. They just depend on themselves. If they want to vote, they know you. But when they finish the vote, so this year I'm not going to vote.
If I'm not wasale, I feel about a metal abanado. If you say, if you put to Juman and Ado, I owe my ma, by Bian Wabesa. It's Ghana for you. I heard said, I remember from the MP said, and I don't know why. It's Ghana for you. I'm here now to man 4 years for Nana, one hand, one to us. Fair education or the Amayina, one Yanyi, and this MPP in a Yakubi.
Few dear Nana, who pay on Pem Cockromotiwi, Maton. The Cockromotiwi, few dear. Many is your maton. That's why my dear mamma. Your mamma pants now come on there. Markets on air, and Yanya Kurana, Yatariaka, Mebano Panina, and I want to have about to see.
Last 4 years, I voted for MPP. By this year around, I will not vote because they didn't mind us. And I'm angry because they didn't give me anything when they came to power. So I'm not going to vote this year. The internet say, why are they free education? Oh, yeah, no, bro, free education or the free education about one day straight one factory.
As this year, I think I'm going back to NDC. Last 4 years, I voted for MPP. When they come, I didn't see any change in my work inside. Because I think I'm going back. I will vote for NDC this year. Thank you.
I feel MPP are buying it, but they say who say are buying on boy. They say yes, I'm NDC because they say NDC buying or you do my.
I am say you can be say you are sitting over there, network, and I'm a boy. By like Muslim Shama sitting on Mono, Sabi, Bibi Yade, a quay mamma kakra, mini video by a quay mamma kakra, Canino. They mean to me, and by now, no me there. Mitimia kakra. What you say? And to me, I say, a quay your mammy, and the former for Nana. And I say, yes, I don't think I say,
Someone selling coffee dada no. Me to my NDC, me to my MPP. Me ba ko gum.
Nse say there. Yeah, NDC na na be say ato ama no. E na jo mama so ba jo mama da woro mantim na ye wona kwase dan e wo hai kama a obi anya ba bi tena mfra ma fa ye ho kama. Nti ye say to ama jo mama biem. Me da wanse.
Mi jina ha wi anya bone. Me hwa amamu ya ekọ kama pa. COVID-19 ba ye president kwa ofa so ototo ne ma wa ye ne ma ye bibia akoyie. De enti amese ato papa no so ne say free education e ba ye no abeboa awofo pa tituru ne ma. Next 4 years ye bese ato abana ma no. Free education wa ye ne kama pa. Me so kakra me work an.
Afi abato me meto ama na nado. Efa ne free education se ma wa ye no. Say me manko bi de but waboa ana corona isu ba ye wabon ho modern ya we na say by the but wabon ho modern ma nipa na affect nipa dodo no is e krambo no ya yan kon ba ire akọ.
My name is Jabal Peter. Being a Ghanaian and not a spectator, I think this year's election I'm going to vote for Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, and simply because the works that this man has done as a president is unprecedented, especially the free senior high school. A lot of children are benefiting from this flagship policy. So I think every Ghanaian must massively vote for him to come and continue with the massive work he's doing. So I would say 4 more for Nana to do more. Thank you.
I fear about one I ever to know. Metwama Nana Akufo-Addo. If you say, why you baby? Me share free education. I already have, in fact, a sombo. Secondly, how do you call it? Restoration of teachers training allowances and nurses training. In fact, me I am the do me Kobe, but me for a Kobe. How to say abwa.
Me pen new policy or the abano. Say free your friends and water bill, any light bill for next term. To me manage our policy no pa. Me say ya me say me yanka fi bia anka to aba. Quebec akrafu amunya on better to swam me Ghana. To me pesa policy no pa.
4 more for Nana.
4 more for Nana to do more.
So looks like NDC, NPP and Ghana Union Movement, GUM, making some headway there in Techiman. This is still the Pulse with me, Gifty and Doppia. Let me do a very quick break. We'll be right back. When we return, we'll go to the Ashanti region. We'll look at the security situation there. Welcome back to the show and many thanks for staying with us. Police in the Ashanti region have arrested 2 ex-convicts believed to have robbed and killed 2 people in separate robbery incidents in Kumasi and Onwe, close to Ejiso in the Ashanti region. Suspect Kwame Precious, popularly known as Soso, confessed to robbing and gunning down Mark Minta, the caretaker of Bantuma SDA Church, who was returning from the banquet church funds. Police Commander COP Kwesi Mensah Duku says police are on a search for others involved in these crimes.
The suspects, after committing this heinous crime, went into hiding until this Kwame Precious was arrested upon intelligence. He's also mentioned some names, and for some other reasons, we're not able to disclose their names. Also in our custody and assisting us with our investigation, while his effort is underway to get his accomplices arrested. Precious, this suspect, Kwame Precious, is also an ex-convict. So you can see that in all these serious cases, if we tried our best to ensure that those who perpetrated those acts are apprehended we give credit also to the public, those who gave us information.
A regional police command press conference this morning also detailed the arrest of other suspects, including a car snatching syndicate and street robbers suspected, I should say. Nanael Agyapa was there for us and joins me via Zoom. Hello, Nanael. Nanael, what more do we know about these robbers or these suspected robbers?
So, as we reported last week, there have been a series of armed robbery and other street robberies in the Ashanti region, and this exercise follows an already existing exercise that the police have been doing. And today, the police paraded a number of people suspected to be involved in a series of armed robberies in the Ashanti region. And one man who the police arrested is said to be involved in some car snatching syndicate in the Ashanti region, and from that individual, about 9 taxi cabs have been retrieved from him alone. And according to the police, they worked with some police districts in the Greater Accra region to get this man who has been tormenting some taxi drivers outside the Kumasi metropolis. So according to the police, what he does is that when you're a taxi driver, he hires you from the outskirts of the Ashanti region and brings you to Kumasi to buy some parts of vehicles. So in that act, he lure you to park your vehicle in a washing bay for people to wash, and he goes with you to where he says he claims to be going to buy whatever that he told the drivers he wants to buy in Kumasi. So through that, he finds his way around the drivers and come back to the washing bay and steal or drive away these cars that belong to these drivers. So it has been going on for a while, but unfortunately for him, the police arrested him. And also, there are 2 others who were also arrested in Obuasi, and they are said to be involved in car snatching in that area. And finally, the police also paraded 2 gentlemen who attempted to rob a national security operative on the streets of Kumasi. And because the national security operative was armed, he was able to overpower them. And through that, the police were able to nab these 2 young men. So I can say that there were other issues that the police brought up, and they would want the people in the Ashanti region to help them with information so that they will be able to arrest all these suspects who are believed to be involved in these ongoing robberies in the Ashanti region, the frequent robberies that we often speak about here in the Ashanti region. And finally, the police want whoever have any information about armed robbers to walk straight to police commanders, whether it's the district or the regional, request to see the commanders themselves, and these commanders will listen to you, and they assure the public that whatever information that they volunteer to the police will be between the police commanders and the individuals, so that the anonymity of these people who have information about these robbers will be secured going forward. So they are calling for a collaborative effort in fighting crime in the Ashanti region.
It's interesting that someone actually tried to, rob a national security operative. But the story about the SDA church caretaker who was gunned down, I'm not sure if his family members are aware of this new development. Do you know if they are, and what have their reaction been?
So far, I have not been able to get information about the family, which we are still trying to get them, for instance. And also the robbery that happened in Onye, they are all relatives, and police have been able to arrest people they believe are linked to these robberies. So we are still working on the families or relatives of these individuals, and whatever we are able to gather, we will update our viewers on that.
And I thank you so much for that update. Nanael Agyapa there, bringing us up to speed on what's happening in the Ashanti region as far as security is concerned. Now, Burn Survivors Foundation, a local NGO, is calling for special attention to be devoted to victims of severe burns whose livelihoods have been destroyed by COVID-19. The group says many survivors of burns cannot wear face mask coverings and are exposed to the disease due to their physical deformities. A trip to the homes of some affected persons shows how livelihoods have been affected due to the COVID-19 restrictions. Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko has more.
45-year-old Ibrahim is the father of 10 living at Trabuom, a small town in the Agyapa district of Ashanti. He sustained hot liquid burns to his face, hands and body when he opened the bonnet of his overheated vehicle. He underwent 3 surgeries to boost function of his ears and mouth. My car overheated, and when I opened the bonnet to check, the hot liquid splashed over my face and body. I have undergone 3 surgeries on my ears. It is still sore inside. He is able to observe all the COVID-19 protocols with the exception of wearing a face mask due to his deformities. COVID-19 has affected me. The effect of the disease combined with the stigma associated with my injuries is a big challenge. I do observe the hand washing protocol, but I can't wear the face mask. I feel pain when I wear it. Because it is compulsory to wear it and people harass me for not wearing it, I have to stay home. At Nkaria in the Agyapa district of Ashanti, I meet 58-year-old Agyapa. His commercial transport business took a nosedive with the onset of COVID-19. I have not been infected with COVID-19, but the disease has caused my downfall. I'm a professional driver. The COVID-19 restrictions affected the transport industry. I lost my car business as a result. To make matters worse, his son, Jeffrey, 20, sustained severe burns in a fatal accident. Jeffrey cannot wear face masks, he has no ears to support them, and his wounds makes him susceptible to infections, including COVID.
Because of say COVID now, I won't know.
I cannot wear the face mask, I have no ears to support it.
And I mean, I guide be a bit more covanti.
COVID-19 restrictions and the closure of schools collapsed the livelihood of Mamia Mensia 40, also a victim of burns. I was selling books in a school with a government loan, she says. Due to the COVID-19 restrictions and closure of schools, I lost my business and I couldn't pay the loan. Bank officials have been chasing me for their money. If somebody wants to help me, they should help me pay my loan so I can have my peace of mind. Burns victims like Ibrahim, Jeffrey and Amma have no means of livelihood and unable to work actively to support their families. Many of them still need surgery to release contractures caused by burnt tissues to enable them function to feed their families. But the effect of COVID-19 has affected the revenues of benevolent institutions. Dennis Opoku-Jemfi is president of the Ghana Burn Survivors Foundation, which has been looking after these victims for some time now.
Some of them are really burned to the level that you see it's 3rd degree kind of burn, and the contractors and everything, doesn't help them at all. So we were in the process of getting help for some of the members because MTN Foundation has been able to, help us in some of these surgeries. But in this era, all the companies or the corporate entities, some of them are also struggling, and as a result, we are unable to, get this kind of, surgery for them.
He believes manufacturers of PPEs could tailor face masks for victims of burns and others with no ears and other supporting limbs for face masks.
You may see my nose like this, but it's not the normal way, or it's not the normal one that was given by the creator, right? So this is reconstructive. By mine, in a way, is a bit, okay. But you see others that are worse. It's so exposed. It's so sometimes you can even look through and you see what is down in there. And covering that up present another kind of heating that, makes the person uncomfortable. So when you see people like that, and there's a law to also, insist on them wearing no nose mask, it's uncomfortable for them. And others don't have the ears, like I said. Some of them, they do have everything, but the moment they put that elastic or plastic thing there and they draw them, because it's not a normal thing. If it's reconstructed and you put on that, sometimes gives you challenges. If you don't have it, sometimes puts you challenges. So if we have companies who can come out with another design, another way of making it to suit people like our group members, I'll really appreciate it.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
And of course, some of those visuals are hard to watch. Apologies, we should have warned you earlier. The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaje, says, amongst others, the quest for accurate COVID-19 test results for persons arriving in Ghana account for what some persons have described as high charges. Speaking at the Ministry of Information press briefing, he said so far no positive cases have been recorded at the airport since the resumption of international commercial flights.
Generally, what do we want to achieve? We want to achieve a test that is very, very sensitive. That tells you that if you are positive, you are positive. If you are negative, you are negative at the shortest possible time. And to look at that, what you get is the new technology that provides that at a cost. But let me explain to you that where people are using PCR and they are charging, I hear Egypt is $30, some are $75. You need to go to your hotel for a day or two to wait for your results. And so you have to put all that in the cost. And for someone, a new equipment like that, you expect that the cost build-up is not going to be easy. But even in that, you realize that it's still relatively cheaper. And we've also not had any significant protest from anybody who feels that the cost is expensive. So the cost is more about the value of what we are providing at top speed and high quality, sensitive result that gives you what we all expect. Because the ultimate goal for the country is to ensure that we don't import any new virus into that. All our problems started because everything that came here was imported and it gave us a lot of problems. So,
Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaje there. Now, the minority in Parliament is questioning the basis of government's decision to charge travellers into Ghana $150 for COVID-19 testing. The minority spokesperson on transport, Kwame Agyapa, says the figure is on the high side as several other countries are charging less or nothing at all. He's questioning why a private company is leading the testing instead of Noguchi Memorial Institute. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins me with more. Hello, Joseph. What do they say they'll be doing about the cost?
Kwame Agyapa, who is the minority spokesperson on transport, says they are beginning their concerns in terms of raising them by, first of all, demanding answers from government and, for that matter, the officials at the level of the Kotoka International Airport. He says they've seen figures that show that for a lot of other nations, the charge for testing is far less. He makes the point that in some of the countries, it's actually at a zero cost. He says they have questions about how come it's a private entity that's leading the testing. He says the Noguchi Memorial Institute, which has been at the forefront of the nation's testing, could have actually led the processes. And even if the figures were this high, then whatever money that accrues will amount to money that they would have used to build up their resources and go ahead and engage in the necessary processes to procure more equipment. So they think that this is something that government should be responding to more questions on. And they, although Parliament is currently on recess, they are looking at other possible avenues to get the aviation officials and also the health ministry to respond to questions on these.
Are they providing any specific examples? I mean, in general terms, they talk about how less some other countries are charging, but are there specific examples that they want to compare, with which they want to compare Ghana?
Kwame Agyapa says some of the nations, as per the details that they've gotten, although he wasn't very specific with some of those nations, he says in some of the areas it's a lot less, and he mentions $30 as the charge that some of the nations are actually charging for the testing, and even for some of the places he says it's actually zero. He thinks that the cost build up to the $150 is very much on the high side, and that it could have been less, all other things being equal, but for the fact that it's actually a process that's being run by private individuals.
Interesting. What actually brought up this conversation in Parliament, Joseph? I'm curious.
Mr. Abuja has actually been asking the question. You know, Parliament is not sitting at the moment.
Yeah.
Parliament is currently on break. They are on recess. They'll be back sometime in the middle of October. Mr. Abuja makes the observation that they have been monitoring the situation since government announced the necessary plans in terms of reopening the borders of the country. And they very much at the minority level appreciate the efforts that government is actually making to make the nation safe, even as we welcome travelers. But they think from their monitoring, these are questions that require answers in terms of the charges that are being put out, the $150, which is why they are voicing it out.
Joseph, thank you very much for that update. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, South Parliamentary Affairs correspondent there. Meanwhile, as final year students complete their WASSCE examinations this Friday, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service says students in schools with recorded cases will have their departure days delayed for assessment of contacts before they are released to go home. Students in schools with no positive cases will then be allowed to go home without any delays.
By Friday, the WASSCE will be over, and we are happy that they've been able to successfully go through the exams and without any major disruption. We are expecting that any school that did not experience any case, they can vacate and they all go home. Secondly, any school that has not reported any positive case in the last 2 weeks prior to the closure can also all go home. However, if there's any school where they reported any positive case, we will do some assessment of contacts, and those contacts will have their vacation delayed, assessed before they go home.
Away from that, JoyNews checks have revealed that claims by the minority in Parliament that it pushed for an amendment to the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act 2018 to make it impossible for it to be incorporated abroad is untrue. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has more.
Clause 3, subsection A of the Act says the fund may create and hold equity interest in a special purpose vehicle in any jurisdiction in furtherance of its objects. Speaking on PM Express on Tuesday night, minority spokesperson on finance, Kesela Toforsen, said the minority sought to amend that clause, but that was shot down.
We proposed an amendment to this clause.
This very clause.
And it was defeated.
Down.
But this was on the floor.
This was on the floor.
I mean, at the committee level. What did the committee recommend? Because that will be government. Was it a majority? This is 2018.
But JoyNews reading of the Parliamentary Hansard of 25th September 2018, when Parliament considered the Clause 3 of the bill, shows the only amendment to the bill was by Chairman of Parliament Finance Committee, Dr. Marcus Beabua. The amendment was to replace a figure 41 in the bill with 40. Fast forward to July 2020, government sought amendment to the act to give Agyapa unfettered independence. Minority leader Hannah Idrisu served notice his side will not back the amendment.
Someone somewhere is thinking of a special purpose vehicle. For what? To create a special purpose vehicle for who? Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I'm serving notice that I will invoke our standing orders that when it comes to this matter, we will insist on a head count on this matter. We don't want to be counted as supporting this particular bill.
But when Parliament approved the amendment 2 weeks later, the minority raised no objection. It was only when government brought the Agyapa agreement itself to the House for approval that minority MPs walked out of the chamber.
Meanwhile, President of the National House of Chiefs and Agbabo Mefia of Asogli, Togwe Afede, has denied claims of ever making comment on the controversial Agyapa royalties deal. Addressing members of the House on fake news items attributed to them, he described the claims as mischievous and urged the public to disregard any such publications said to have been issued from the National House of Chiefs on the matter.
It was titled, House of Chiefs condemn ethnocentric comments shared by John Dramani Mahama. Again, most of these publications came with my name, but this one went further to forge the letterhead of the National House of Chiefs. By the time it was dropped by Ghana Web, it had attracted almost 150 comments. This is extremely mischievous and need to be condemned without any reservation and in no uncertain terms. I, in particular, am very much hurt by the attempt to use my name to grant legitimacy to a transaction that has been very widely condemned for its secrecy and for the fact that the company involved, Agyapa, was incorporated in a tax haven. I do not see why desperation will lead anybody who is associated with that transaction to want to use the name of innocent Togwe the 14th. I've never commented on these kind of transactions, and I've decided not to comment for good reason that show disapproval of this transaction. Tax havens typically serve two purposes: helping you to avoid tax or ensure secrecy. I don't see why a national transaction should be shrouded in secrecy in the first place. And if we are trying to avoid tax or minimize tax, whom are we denying tax payment to? The corporation is incorporated in Ghana, tax will accrue to Ghana, which will be paid by this company that is owned supposedly majority by Ghana. So I do not see why we should be doing that in the first place. But more important for me is the attempt to use my name and the National House of Chiefs to grant legitimacy to this transaction. The National House of Chiefs will issue a statement very shortly to deny that this ever emanated from the House. Meanwhile, we have lodged a report with the police so that the culprits who are perpetrating this can be traced. This is very important, in the run-up to the December 7 elections. People will attempt to use social media to spread all kinds of falsehood. It's indeed very dangerous and should be condemned by all well-meaning Ghanaians. It's not about whether you're NDC or NPP. Democracy must be built on solid foundations of truth. Extremely important.
Meanwhile, Deputy Information Minister Pius Hajide says government met some CSOs on Wednesday and is happy to engage and provide clarity on the matter. He says the income for the deal will be used in 4 areas: health, education, infrastructure, and housing.
Government, through the Ministry of Finance, engaged with civil society players and other stakeholders yesterday over government's intent to activate relevant portions of the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act 2018 as amended. This engagement was born out of government's desire to provide clarity and information so as to disabuse the minds of anybody who may have been misled to suspect wrongdoing, and also to carry the country along with it as it embarks on this exciting and novel journey of adding value to our natural resources and keeping with the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. We are happy to continue to engage and provide clarity to anybody or any institutions and organizations that may so desire. In the meantime, even as we engage, government shall continue to work in the best interest of the Ghanaian people, use our nation's resource to leverage our assets for tomorrow. Let's be reassured that the income from the Agyapa Mineral Royalty Limited arrangement would be used in 4 main areas, namely health, education, road infrastructure, and housing. Ladies and gentlemen, government continues to keep its eyes on the ball.
Pius Hajide is Deputy Information Minister. Little Clara Koyo is surrounded by a world full of sound, yet she hears none of it. She is clinically deaf. She goes about her days mumbling her speeches. And this is all because, although curable, her poor single mother and aunt cannot raise 6,500 cedis to buy her hearing aid. It's been almost 3 years since her birth, and the plight continues. JoyNews' PSA Nanayo Safo was in Tantra Hill, Accra, to meet the little girl and her worried mother.
A loving mom says hello.
Hello.
But the young one cannot respond. Not because she doesn't want to. She just does not hear anything. Clara Koyo is like every other 2-year-old in the country, but her mood is reduced to a few rather inaudible words. Vida Anagbla is Clara's mother. Little Clara has not begun to learn proper language. She cannot. She was born with a hearing impairment. Her mother, Vida Anagbla.
Mama umbo bida. So say mama umbo bida.
Na akodai facha mzine busa na ne papa.
Papa so oyo school ni. Oko school. Oko na yare ko born no ban obewi. Papa na bi.
Ne papa we na akodai wodin fia.
Na tamani papa we no. Na kora no do 1.5. Asana ne papa we.
Children generally pick patterns of speech after 6 months of birth. After 2 whole years, Vida got worried. Little Clara was sent to the hospital for tests, but the results were more than her mother could take or pay for from the little funds she makes selling oranges.
I don't know how can was over 5 million. Yamin the quarry, a yard the mammy kakra. Maybe a bobosia. And I made it quiet. And I was Ose sika wo beche no nyame no kwara na meturu ntua de mami
5 million
metia 5 million na wa check no ose sana asana wo beche no just what machine de shana so asana wo betumi akasa ya de mami pa.
With no one to turn to, little Clara has been forced to her fate. No school, few friends save for her neighbors, and no money for her possible hearing comfort. But Ajo Anagbla, aunt to the girl, still believes in the assurance from the doctors Clara's hearing can be saved.
Onyamum, yenya machine de shana soa, obetumi akasa. Jesus kana mokano anu edi. Yentuminya.
I asked Maxwell Amwening, a family friend, on why he reached out to JoyNews with Clara's story.
I know Ghanaians can do something for little Clara because I believe most Ghanaians give because they want to give and help and impact the life of people. This is what I want to ask Ghanaians to do for little Clara. I want them to impact in their life. She will grow up and become a better woman. You understand? So when she gets to know that someone somewhere helped her to speak, to be able to hear something, that means she's also going to help someone without even thinking twice. So everybody should try and do something. The little that you can give will make a lot more in their life.
A desperate mother does not have much to say.
Me yamwa. Some Ghana man na one who me mobo no one bua me. Say kakra. Let me phantom machine my friend because me won send na friend dachi oba beye. Eti me sra chaupa am Ghana fu. One bua me kakra na me fan shop friend. And na me pisa mo efi mo. Nyame shira mo papa. Tibia ye nyame ni hihye. Na abofra ye dachi a nim asida me de beba mu Yakopon pe ne beda mu ase. E wa kwanyi nerem mama wode na kwantete. Nyame waka kire mu ene Ghana fo nyina.
PSA Nana Yaw Safo, JoyNews.
Happy to take support for this little girl in any way you can. Now, the people of Dusi in the Talensi district of the Upper East region are unhappy about the deplorable nature of the main road linking their area to nearby Pelungu, where most of their health complications are often referred to for treatment. They say people are losing their lives on the road and are therefore calling on the government to, as a matter of urgency, fix the road or risk losing their votes in the upcoming general elections.
Dusi is a small town located in the Talensi district of the Upper East region. The people here are mainly farmers and known generally to be a quiet, peace-loving people. In recent times, however, the deplorable nature of the roads here in Dusi has forced the people into some agitation. Of particular concern to them is the road linking their area to the Pelungu township in the Nabdam district. The people say they commute via this road to Pelungu to do business in the market and sometimes to seek health care at the clinic there. But the road has become so bad that it is almost impossible to use it. The road is not tarred and is said to have been constructed about 30 years ago. It is now ridden with wide, deep potholes, often covered in muddy water anytime it rains. The road also becomes muddy and slippery when it rains, and therefore very dangerous for commuters. Daniel Zog is the assembly member for the Dusi electoral area.
Any presidential candidate or parliamentary candidate that comes out to contest the seat of Talensi, the first community to visit is Dusi. They know that Dusi is a big community with about 2,000 plus population, yet Dusi Road is still like that, lying down, people cannot move. Market people cannot move. So we therefore want to plead with the government that the people of Dusi are fed up. We are crying because of this road.
Some of the residents of Dusi have also been expressing their frustrations about the deplorable nature of this road to JoyNews. One time, my pregnant daughter was in labor. We struggled so much on this road before we got her to the clinic. She nearly delivered the baby on the road. Anytime I am going to the market myself, I slip and fall several times before I make it there. Sometimes I even lose some of my goods on the way. It is as if we the people here are not even part of Ghana, and this is very frustrating. It is very sad. When it rains, we cannot use this road. Pregnant women suffer and risk losing their babies on this dangerous road. When someone is sick and needs urgent medical attention, it is difficult for an ambulance to come through. Even a motorcycle cannot commute easily on this road with a sick person to the clinic. Therefore, we are saying that as the elections are approaching, if this road is not fixed, we do not want to see any politician coming here to campaign. All the youth here in Dusi are united on this. If our road is not fixed, we are not ready to welcome or to listen to any politician who comes here with a rally. and no one should even talk to us about going out to vote. The people of Dusi say their demonstration was meant to draw government's attention to their plight. They want the road fixed as soon as possible. For JoyNews, Albert Sorry, Dusi, Talensi District.
Well, it's less than 100 days to the election. We'll see how that goes. And many more communities have yet to benefit from government's Year of Roads promise. One of such communities is Karachi in the Karachi West District of the OT region. For years now, residents have had to cope with the discomfort of traveling on tricycles on deplorable town roads. Correspondent Peter Seno has been interacting with the residents and has more in his report.
The OT Regional Minister Kwesi Osuebo at a press conference on 3rd January 2020 said Karachi town roads are part of critical roads in the region for which procurement process have been completed.
Several other motor roads in the region have been captured as critical roads, and their procurement processes for construction have been completed. These roads include Rajashikan, Karachi town roads, Damai town roads, and several feeder roads in the region.
6 months on, residents are yet to see any construction work on the town roads. Residents say they have been coping with dusty pothole-ridden, bone-tweaking town roads for years now. Some residents and road users have been speaking to JoyNews. The nature of the road disturbs pregnant women anytime we pick them. The engine of the motor also breaks down frequently, and I spend on it. The road is bad. By the time you get to the hospital with a sick person, the condition is worsened. The road is bad. It disturbs us as parents and mothers. We are asking government to help fix the road for us. How are the bad roads affecting businesses in this COVID-19 era? Here is Alhaji Abdul Rahman, the owner of this tailoring shop just by the road. His machine, fabrics, and clothes of customers get dusty all the time.
It's not good.
It's not good. But you are a tailor.
Yeah.
How is it affecting you here?
It's affecting me much.
How?
And always, dust has been spoiling dresses. When I sew, dust do spoil there.
And so how do your customers, do they complain?
They complain a lot. They complain a lot.
And this clothing shop?
See what I'm selling here. In case if any long vehicle pass here right now, you can see that the dust, it will just disturbing us here. And we can't do anything to protect it. We can't go and fetch water
pour on the ground.
Yeah, so we are pleading that the government should come and check how our road got.
Hastings Anani is the president of Karachi Youth Association. He says they are running out of patience, adding fixing the road or not will determine who gets their vote in the December polls.
Whoever is questioning regarding this will tell you that this is one of our major problems. Because when the cars move, what do we see? The whole town is covered with dust. How do you inhale the dust? It gives us a lot of problems. That's why I'm saying it's long overdue. I presume that once it's election year, no doubt they will come to do it. Otherwise, they can envisage the consequences of it.
So your town roads, is it going to play a key role in determining where your direction of vote is?
Really? It's going to determine a key role. It's going to be a key role if my people will reason with me.
Peter Senu for JoyNews.
time has feet, apparently. So this is where I draw the curtain.